Welcome. Welcome to Daily Invocation Souls Check-in.
We are delighted to be with you. Continuing our inquiry, exploration of intimacy.
So this being your number one source of inspiration and information on the path to healing, attainment, and liberation, we think the most important thing we can do is to empower you with tools and strategies and not just explain what things are or what the possibilities may be, but to actually give you the tools so that in those moments of conflict or struggle in your own intimate relationships, you can be empowered to have the choice to make this an opportunity for further intimacy, for more transformation in your life, and not a loss or a source of bigger conflict or ongoing toxic patterns. So, we also want to clarify that our loose definition for conflict resolution in this moment is how can we bring more peace, more love into our relationship, into the situation, while, and this is very important, while maintaining our own boundaries.
Brunadere and I would love to share a strategy that has served us very, very well. And I would love to give credit for where it came from, but I can't because I don't remember. And it's quite basic, actually. I think kind of therapy 101, but it has served us very, very well. And like we talked about last week with intimacy, one great way to build intimacy is to have clear agreements and keep revisiting the agreements and updating the agreements in a transparent, strong, communicative way. One of the agreements Karuna Dare and I have is either one of us at any time can terminate a conversation. That's a little bit advanced. So let me break it down to like the first part that we agreed to, and then later we agreed to the second part. The first part is about self-awareness. When conflict happens in intimacy, because it does happen, it's so powerful and wonderful to be self-aware and say, oh my gosh, I can see I'm triggered right now. Or, oh my gosh, I'm flooded right now. And later at some point, we'll talk about the difference between those two. But if I'm really emotional and I'm feeling conflictual and I don't want to be conflictual, I'll just say, you know what? Let's end the conversation now. I don't like my emotional state. And because of our agreement, Karuna will honor that. Now, there is an asterisk, of course, because 90% of the time, when in conflict, we don't have to resolve in that moment, okay? Sometimes in conflict, we can't keep that agreement. Like if we're driving and we got to decide if we're turning right or left, and I think one and Karuna thinks the other, okay, that's not a time for me to invoke that agreement. But the majority of time when there's conflict, There isn't a need to resolve in that moment. And so it's super great when you're noticing yourself, your heart rate can go up, your breathing is more shallow. I know one big clue for me is if I start swearing, I know I'm flooded with emotions and it's time for me to stop and pick up the conversation later. So that's like the starting place for our agreement. And then later, as we were getting more attuned to each other and our habits and patterns and predispositions, and we really were getting into the trauma work and getting deeper into the layers of trauma while expanding our awareness, we made a second part to the agreement. And that is, we agreed that we could terminate the conversation if we noticed the other person was getting triggered and or flooded. And we weren't liking it. So even if I was staying okay and calm, if I noticed Karunadara getting conflictual, we had the agreement that we could stop, and vice versa. If she noticed me swearing or raising my voice or getting conflictual in a way she didn't like, she'd say, you know what, Prasad, I'm going to invoke our agreement of terminating the conversation now. And I take a breath as I explain it because we've both utilized it many, many times, and it's been fantastic. And it's fanned out too. It's not just romantically. I've used it with other friends and other intimate people that talked about the success Karunadara and I had with it because it was the first time in my life I had done it. And I think it was for you too, right?
Probably to that extent, yes.
Yeah, yeah. So that is one conflict resolution strategy that has served us very well that I'm delighted to share with anyone who will listen. And if you have any questions, type them in or bring them to Amos on Saturday. We can dive in further because I love sharing this strategy with people. And Karunadara, can you want to say anything more about your positive experience with it or any part of it that I left out?
Yeah, I just want to add to what you were saying about how it applies outside of a romantic relationship. So I've used this quite a bit, although not in the same way that you just explained, but at work. So taking a break, and there's actually certain personality types, even. So putting the trauma aside of in intimate relationships, I shut down. So using a break and the flexibility of I can say I need a break, or Prasad or whoever's in front of me could say, let's take a break, because they can start to see that I'm becoming flooded, as one example. In addition to that, I've been able to extend that into work situations where I either don't have an answer or don't know what to say. So it's although it might not seem, it might be internal conflict, I suppose, is what I'm also adding to this particular strategy. That sometimes in society we're really trained to know it all, and we could probably do a week on that. But we actually don't have to know it all. And so when I'm experiencing internal conflict, I could have that dialogue in myself. So it's really beautiful to take a tool, implement it, and then it becomes such a part of you that it extends beyond what you thought it might apply to. And that's just amazing. You know, it leads to amazing results. So that's all I wanted to add.
Nice. Yeah, thank you. What I'm hearing you saying is you can use this strategy implicitly, not explicitly. You and I, Karunadara, used it explicitly. Okay, pause. But at work and other situations, you can say, let me take some time with that. So yeah, beautiful. Thank you. Well, speaking of thank you, I want to thank you all for joining us on this exploration of intimacy and invoking some conflict resolution strategies. You might be able to hear some cicadas going in the background here. I think I might go meditate with them for a little bit. No cicadas audible? Okay. It's noise cancellation is working. with a bunch of cicadas going, and it's quite beautiful to meditate to. So we'll see you all tomorrow. Much love, everyone.